Welcome to Small Ball. We are live. Um, it's nice to be back. It is June 9th. We have been away for some time now, but we are back. And I'm having mixed feelings right now about the return. And what I'm going to start the show with, I already notified the world that we were going live like a couple minutes ago, so I'm not going to do that again. But I'm gonna start the show a little differently today. And I think I owe it to you guys, my fans and viewers. Um, some semblance of an explanation as to why we've been away for so long from the show. And despite all of what I'm about to say, I'm excited to be back. It's the summer now. Well, technically not quite yet, but it is effectively summer for many. And I'm excited to get back into the show. A lot of people, my viewers over the summer, are a lot more invested in the show. And so I think I owe it to you guys to make the return. And yeah, I mean, so you know what? I'm gonna jump into what I had to say, and then we'll talk more about the future of the show. The primary reason why we've been away for so long is because, to be honest, and I have not and would not have predicted myself saying this at any point in the near future. But to be honest, I'm losing interest in watching baseball. Now, that is not a statement that helps my show, nor does it help the baseball talk show community at large. And nor is it, a hyperbolic, broad scale issue in my life. I'm certainly not done watching baseball. At a very small level, I am slowly losing interest. Now, I'm still watching baseball quite frequently, every day to be specific. But I'm going to give you guys 5 reasons why I'm not as excited to turn on Major League Baseball games this year as I have been in years past. And with those 5 reasons, I hope, on a personal level, to express to you some of the cons that and some of the issues that I have with the game right now, to color my arguments going forward in the show, so you kind of know where I'm coming from. And I hope also that these 5 things don't, mar the game for you at all. Certainly, take everything I say with a grain of salt and react however you wish. That said, there are 5 main reasons, and I had to kind of squish it into 5. There are probably more than 5. But 5 reasons why baseball isn't quite doing it for me this year. And despite these 5 reasons, I am very, very confident that this is a temporary thing. Because, A, I still believe that baseball is the best game in the world. And I'm confident that these things will iron themselves out, because they seem to always do. And hopefully sooner rather than later. Because, like I said, it's not like I am completely down on baseball and not watching it this year, and I'm done. And like, hopefully next year. Like, it's not anything like that. Like, I'm still, still going strong. But anyway, here are the 5 things. Number 1, it's the style of play right now is not enjoyable. It's boring. And analytics are the more than primary, maybe the only reason for that. Now, my issues with analytics, which have been detailed on this show in great length, are twofold. And one that I think many of you agree with me on, is that the analytics revolution has made the game of baseball less fun to watch. But I wouldn't say a word about that if it worked. And that's your guys' argument, a lot of you, is that you can't blame the teams for doing it because it works. That is the second side of it that I vastly disagree with. Because now every team is using analytics. So it's impossible to tell if they are working perfectly or not working at all, because if every team is using them, which they are, you can't compare. So even the worst team in the league at any given point in time is using analytics. And the strange thing to me is that people don't watch baseball anymore because of analytics. And this is the main problem I have. Stats have made the game so much less exciting. Because when stats came into, when advanced stats came into baseball, right, it gave the average fan a way of understanding what was going on. And baseball games are pretty long, and there's a lot of them, and most people, like the average person, doesn't just like to sit down and watch baseball all day long like I have done for the past 5 years. But it's getting to the point now where it's so easy to rely on math to find out what's going on in Major League Baseball that people have stopped even watching the games. They'll watch their team, not even every day. When I was certainly baseball's been going on for a long time, but even when I was younger, which was not a long time ago in the grand scheme of baseball's existence, people did not miss their team's games and very, very frequently would watch just exciting games that were going on. But because of stats now, this is not something that a lot of people are talking about. Because stats are so prevalent, people consciously or subconsciously feel like they don't need to watch the games anymore to know what's going on. Because they can go to Baseball Reference and see who's leading the league in home runs, who's leading the league in this, that, and the other, who's leading the league in WAR, which has become the primary stat because it's a convenience thing. It's so easy for people now to say, who has the highest WAR? This guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. Okay, perfect. Now I'm equipped for any debate that I might have about Major League Baseball. Again, I wouldn't have a problem with people thinking that way if it worked. But because nobody's watching these games anymore, literally including scouts, they're literally judging players on math, and scouts, the people who literally by definition should be watching the games the most, don't even watch college and high school players play anymore when they're evaluating them. And because nobody's watching these games, the stats have become so out of control and so far from the truth that these teams are barking up the wrong tree. And a lot of the teams that have been relying on them for a long time and rely on them more heavily are struggling in the postseason or even struggling to get there. Analytics broad scale speaking, work a lot better in the regular season than they do in the postseason. Nobody's accounting for this, but think about this logically. Analytics say swing for the fences, strikeouts don't matter, just hit home runs. Well, in the regular season, when you're facing the Orioles pitching staff, the Pirates pitching staff, 19 games a year, right, if you're in their divisions, that works a lot better than when you are facing for literally a month, all of October, every single game you play, you are facing a frontline, a lot of times even Hall of Fame level pitcher. That strategy doesn't work as well. Nobody's accounting for that because people look at the math over the long term of a regular season and think that they can apply that to the postseason, which is a very, very different game. Analytics are not working. The Oakland A's, they made a movie about the Oakland A's who founded this strategy, Billy Beane, right? They made a movie about them. In the movie, they lost in the first round of the playoffs. That was their big success. It's becoming a joke. Since Billy Beane started the analytics revolution with the Oakland A's, they have gone 2-11 in playoff series since then. And if not for the COVID 3-game series last year that they barely won against the White Sox, they would be 1-11 in their last 12 postseason series since adopting analytics. And in the movie that they made about them, the big ending, happy, poster, of the analytics movement, they lost in the first round of the playoffs. And the reason why this is making baseball less interesting is because the teams are now playing a style that's analytically favorable and less fun to watch. There is no creation of runs. There is no small ball, right? I named this show. It's not a coincidence, right, that this show is called Small Ball. I mean, I'll just leave it at that. It's more fun to see players moving around, scoring runs, in ways other than jogging around the bases. It's more fun. I don't think a lot of people can argue with that. Now, you can argue that it's in the team's best interest to do that stuff, but I would argue it's not. And we can talk about that at greater length another time. That's number one. Number two, baseball is way too regional. And I used to think this was one of the pros of baseball over other sports. But it's become, I'm realizing now that it's the opposite. It's a con. And what I mean by regional is that people only watch their teams. They don't watch any other teams. And this has been primarily the case for a long time in baseball. It's been the regional sport, where in football and basketball, there are primetime games that everybody watches. Everybody watches Sunday Night Football, no matter who's playing, if you're a football fan, right? Everybody in the world watches the Super Bowl, even if you're not a football fan. And basketball has become that too now, with a lot more primetime games, and everybody's watching the playoffs and all that. In baseball, everybody watches their team, and that's it. Nobody watches Sunday Night Baseball. A lot of people don't even watch the playoffs. Vast majority of baseball fans do not watch the playoffs if their team is not in it. Maybe the World Series, but certainly not, Braves Reds in the NLDS. If you live in New York, let's say. And I used to think that was a good, one of the benefits of baseball, because it made, watching the games a lot more exciting if you are a fan of that team. And now I'm realizing that the great thing about football and basketball and hockey, for those who follow it, because hockey is not that regional, right? It's not that popular in general, but among the hockey community, it's not that regional. But baseball is, and I think that the thing that I like most about basketball and football is that you can talk to any basketball fan about, the Jazz game last night, right? I watched the Jazz game with my friends, and the Jazz Clippers game, and none of us had any affinity to either team, but everybody's interested. Everybody can talk about it. Everybody wants to see what's going on around the league. In baseball, People don't even probably. I would bet that the vast majority of Yankee fans could probably not name a player on the Pittsburgh Pirates. Literally, there is no. I mean, if you're, let's say, a Giants fan in football, you probably know every quarterback on every single team, no matter how relevant they are, no matter what. That's not the case in baseball, and that makes it less interesting to me because I can't go talk to my Red Sox friends about, the Red Sox and the Yankees, and maybe the Red Sox and the Yankees, but whatever the case may be, there isn't that commonality, right? There, if I go down to the South, right, wherever, Florida, and I want to talk to people about the Rays, and it's like there's no sense of common, interest, right? Rays fans like the Rays. They watch the Rays. They love the Rays. You listen to these games, like these broadcasters, these commentators. It makes me uncomfortable how much they care about the team that they're broadcasting, and that sounds like counterintuitive, right? But like they'll literally the opposing team will hit a home run and they're like literally upset. I'm like, you're a commentator, right? We're watching a baseball game. We're not watching the Rays game. It doesn't matter, really. I'm a Yankee fan, right? Whether or not the Yankees win or lose has literally no effect on my life. Literally none. Like, I care about enough to watch the game and root for them, but if they lose, I do not have any lasting quarrels with that whatsoever. Literally none. Because it doesn't matter. Now, I root for them because they are my favorite team. Well, my favorite team means the team that I like the most by definition. So if in any given year that became a different team, I would switch. It has not to this point. But I don't have that strong of an affinity to them because it really doesn't matter, which is why I'm just as interested in, the Red Sox Phillies game than I am the Yankees Twins game. Right? But I don't know. Definitely most people do not feel that way, and I think that makes it a little bit less exciting for the fans. Number 3, this is sort of similar, but it's baseball nowadays, and this was not the case a long time ago, is extremely individualized. It's become so much more about the player than the team that, I mean, in a lot of similar ways, it's not as exciting. There's not that sense of commonality. Now, this has led to, and this is another big problem that I can kind of lump in with this, has led to vast cheating in baseball. Now we're seeing all these pitcher stuff, and at this point, I'm just like, when the steroid stuff, it's funny. I was born in 2000, right? Right after the steroid era. So when I was growing up, everyone thought of the steroid era as the 90s, right? Over, 80s and 90s, whatever. And I was looking around and I was like, 80% of these guys playing right now are cheating, right? And everybody's, no, it's impossible. They're not catching them. Major League Baseball wanted players taking steroids because it improved offense and it made the game more exciting to watch. And people neglected that, right? Obviously, it was very, very clear to me that players were juicing. And honestly, at this point, whether they are or they aren't, I don't even care anymore. If they want to do it, fine. I'm no longer invested in it because I am no longer a baseball player myself on a very technical level. But it was affecting literally like middle school teammates of mine when I was that age had to face, the decision of whether or not to put that stuff in their body. And but the reason for that is it's become so individualized now with like high school recruiting and, going all the way back to the foundation of where these players are coming from because of the recruiting. And now because of the money that is being awarded to these players, it's so much more individualized than it used to be. That's why we're seeing all this bat flipping and celebrating. And players are trying to promote themselves rather than their teams, which is what it used to be. And it's just so uncomfortable for me to watch that stuff, right? Where I feel like I feel like it's 9 guys, like instead of a team, right? And everybody, and stats have a lot to do with this too, because now everybody's focused on what a player looks like on paper, as opposed to on the field. So on the field, when you have your whole team and you're trying to work together as a team, that's what it used to be. It used to be, how does this team look when they play against other teams? Now it's, if you line up these 9 guys against these other 9 guys, who has the higher WRC plus, 1 through 9, or whatever the case may be. So all of that stuff put together has made it so much more about the player than the team, and that's not interesting to me. Number 4. The game is too childish. And this is related to all 3 of the things that I've just said. But I'm tired of it. I'm so tired of the nonsense. I mean, look. Let's take Yermin for instance, right? Yermin Mercedes, I'm sure you know, hit a home run on 3-0 against a position player, and he got a lot of Tony La Russa got a lot of blowback for criticizing him. I don't need to go through the whole story. And this is not a pro Tony La Russa argument at all. Should he have called him out? No, absolutely not. And was it okay for Yermin to do that? Yeah, it was fine. But like, you also could not do that. You know what I mean? It's like, and I knew as soon as that happened, I was like, oh boy, here we go. Here come the Gen Z baseball, let the kids play geeks. And I just like tried to isolate that from my life. But, and again, was it a catastrophe? Was it such a bad thing for him to hit a home run? No. But you could also like take the pitch, right? That's an option too. Because in other sports, basketball, if you lay it up, when the game is over, less than 24 seconds left, if you lay that ball in the basket, you're getting that ball thrown at your back, and the entire opposing team is coming down on you. Nobody has a problem with that, right? Nobody has a problem with that. Nobody has a problem with, in football, if you're up by a lot, right? Up 30, third quarter, take college football, for example. You run up the score. Next time you play that team, you're getting smacked in the mouth. No one has a problem with that. Everyone loves that. Everyone loves when the other team defends themselves. For some reason in baseball, I don't know why it's different. In hockey, certainly, if you run up the score in hockey, you better look out next time you play that team, because you probably are sending a couple guys to the dressing rooms. But for some reason in baseball, people celebrate that stuff. Running up the score, showboating. I don't get it. I really don't get why that makes the game better. It's so childish. I'm so tired of the bat flips. The reason why I hate bat flips so much is because in and of themselves, they don't really, they're fine. But people have become so infatuated with celebration that they're literally not even watching the game. I've said this many, many times. But what do you remember from 2015 Game 5 Blue Jays Rangers? Do you remember the incredible game that was played? Maybe the best baseball game I've ever watched. You probably don't even remember what happened in the game. The only thing you remember is the Jose Bautista bat flip. So these celebrations, this childish nonsense, is taking over the game and distracting us from what we actually want to see, which is baseball. And it goes back to the individual point that I just made, where players are trying to promote themselves, not their team. And I'm so tired of it. Like, again, all this debate about, like, is it okay to bat flip? Is it okay to swing on 3-0? It's not like, a crime, but you could also like not do it, right? And it doesn't make the game any better. A lot of people think that this celebration and all that makes the game more exciting. I vastly disagree with that because it might make the game more exciting. I don't know the word for it. I mean, it's more flashy for sure, and it's more. It's kind of like immediate gratification to me, right? Where it's like in a 162 game season where there's kind of not a lot going on. A lot of people are kind of starving for that flash, right? You know what I mean? And I think that's why people like it in baseball so much. But to me, what really excites me about the game is teams playing well, players making plays. That's the stuff I want to see. And MLB doesn't even talk, like literally 60% of the MLB like app notifications that I get are literally about like bat flips. Like MLB is literally promoting celebration more than they're promoting their own sport. And it's getting out of hand at this point. Should players be able to express themselves? Sure. But at least do it in a way that celebrates your team and not yourself. Because in every other sport, that's how it goes. And I don't know. It just distracts me and everyone else from what's going on the field. It just does. I don't know. Both parties were wrong. Tony La Russa obviously should not have called out his own player and whatever. And I like Tony La Russa. I think he's a great manager. But you could also just take the picture. Like you can calm down, bud. At number 5, this is one of the only I know you guys know me as kind of a baseball traditionalist, but this is one of the traditional aspects of the game that I think they should change. I would not be unhappy with them expanding the playoffs like they did last year. Because number 5 is that there are so many games played that just literally don't matter. And in baseball, right, 5 teams from each 15-team league make the playoffs. Last year it was 8. And when it was 8, when they announced that it was going to be 8, I was like, that sounds like a lot. Like I don't know if the 8th best team in a conference in a league or a conference or whatever should be, should have a chance after the regular season to win the title. But it made it so much more interesting because all the games, basically the entire season, were relevant, right? But now that it's back to 5 teams making the playoffs from each league, I'm realizing that there are so many games that I just have no interest in watching. Like over the last couple of years, I would have like MLB TV. I'd have like 4 games going at a time. You can do like the split screens, and like every baseball game I could possibly watch, I would have like 3 devices literally open, like my phone, my TV, my computer, and I'd play like all 12 games at once. And I was but now I'm just like spending, 3 hours on my Saturday afternoon watching Pirates like Royals. Like it's just a waste of my time because neither of those teams have a chance to do anything. And unlike, in other sports where 8 teams make it from each conference, there are very few games up until, maybe up until the last month of the season, but certainly like around the All-Star break, every team is still in it, and the games are still relevant. The St. Louis Blues won the Stanley Cup a couple years ago on like January, I don't remember the exact, I think it was like January 21st, which was more than halfway through the season. They were in last place in the entire NHL, and they won the title that year. So I don't know. I feel like if they expanded it, it would just make those games that are now just completely meaningless so much more interesting, right? And that sounds like a good thing to me, to make more games watchable. Literally, like I don't know what games are on tonight, but like let's say the Rockies are playing the Diamondbacks. Like over the last couple of years, I would be like, okay, like I want to see those offenses, whatever. But now I'm just like, okay, this literally has no bearing on anything that could possibly be relevant this season. So I don't know. I feel like if they expanded the playoffs, it would make it a little bit more. It would just add some excitement to some of those teams, and because it's so regional, like I said, like I'm a Yankee fan, right? So I've gotten used to like having something to play for every year. The Yankees have never in my lifetime started a season without any hopes of making the playoffs, and in the vast majority of those seasons, they did make the playoffs. But I've been thinking about this, like if I was like a Royals fan, right, or what, you know what I'm trying to say, like I wouldn't know how to get excited for opening day, right? And because it's so regional, like this wouldn't be the case if like people cared about other teams, because like in football, if you're a Jets fan and they stink, like that's really unfortunate. Like that, I honestly feel bad for you guys, but at least you can watch the other games. Like in baseball, nobody's watching these other games, which again I think is a problem. But given that that's the case, um, if I'm like if I'm a Rockies fan this year, like how am I getting excited for opening day? But if they had an 18 playoff like last year, I thought the Giants were literally going to come in last place. They were in playoff contention until a day before the season ended. So yeah, that's I think that'd be a good call. I think they should expand it. 8 might be a lot, but like and I always thought that especially in baseball where the best team doesn't always win. I was like, do I really want to give the 8th best team in the American League a chance to win the championship? Because like I don't know if they really deserve it, but no matter if you're the last place team, if you get through 4 playoff series and come out on top, I think you deserve it, no matter what team you are. And I don't think a bad team is capable of doing that, no matter what sport you're playing. So those are the 5. Stats and analytics have made the game boring, and they do not work. Obviously, it's tough for me to just say that without giving specific examples, but, I have given a plethora of examples in the past, and I will continue to do that in the future. Baseball is way too regional. I wish people would watch other teams, and so we could talk about it. But honestly, like on this show, like I talk so much about the Yankees because that's like most of my viewers are Yankee fans, and like the game has become a little bit less regional than it used to be in some ways, and in other ways, it's been the opposite. So I can talk a little bit more about that stuff, but generally speaking, if I'm not talking about the Yankees, you guys really don't care what I have to say. So it's too regional. It's way too individualized. I'm so tired of this, the player movement, right? The game has become so pro player now, and that's not something that I think is good for the game. I think sports are better when people are interested in teams and the way teams work together and which teams are good, which teams are bad. It doesn't matter what players are good and what players are bad. It really doesn't. And because people are focused on stats right now, they don't even know who's good and who's bad. So there's a lot of stuff going on with that I don't know. It's a little bit. It's not as exciting to watch players individually. Number 4 is it's childish. The game is childish. I'm not going to go into it more. Number 5, there's a lot of games that don't matter, and I think that I don't know. I think that the league could benefit from expanding the playoffs. I think that would fix a lot of those issues. Now, we're sort of out of time. I've been trying to keep the show to half an hour, so I think I will. I had another thing planned for today, but I will leave you guys with that. My 5 reasons why. Obviously, this is a pretty, I don't know, pretty non-traditional show where I just kind of talk about bad things about baseball. That wasn't my intention, but I will get to some other stuff next show. I don't have a schedule. I mean, we'll try to do. I mean, it's the summer now, basically. So baseball is back, right? We're really getting into the swing of it. So I am going to try to do a more consistent schedule. Thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate it. We got the draft coming up in about a month, so you guys know I love me some MLB entry draft. Be talking about that for sure. A lot of stuff going on. I will say the season this year has been very interesting. There are a lot of teams that are surprising me, a lot of players that are surprising me. I do think as far as seasons go, this one has been pretty interesting, and I'm excited to see how it shakes out. But anyway, I'll leave you guys with that. Thank you so much for watching. Have a healthy, happy, and safe rest of your Wednesday. Definitely no show tomorrow, but a good chance of one on Friday. But I will let you guys know. Again, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, comment, recommend, all that good stuff. If you feel inclined to do so. And yeah, I'll see you guys, or you'll see me probably Friday. If not Friday over the weekend, but I think probably Friday and then Sunday makes a lot of sense. Hope you enjoyed today's show. Thank you for watching. Peace.